Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creating a New World, um, the show about a new world that we can all create together. I'm your host, Bill Hunsiker, and I'd like to introduce our panelists. First, we have Sage Katakura, a very good friend of mine and someone I enjoy working with. Welcome, Sage.
Hi, Bill.
And we also have Bob McCaffrey, also a very good friend of mine and someone that I've enjoyed working with over the years. Welcome, Bob.
Good morning, Bill. Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
And also Harry Dolgen, another friend of mine and my business partner, and someone I've really enjoyed getting to know over the past year and a half. Welcome, Harry.
Ditto, Bill, and lucky 13 for the show. So
oh yeah, absolutely.
And keep up the good work.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yep. We're gonna get started here. The show is about the 12 Visions world, a world of freedom, wealth, health, and peace. Author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton thought about what a world without initiatory force would be like. He chose to write the result in the form of 12 visions. Here they are. Number 1, become the person you were meant to be. Number 2, live the life you were meant to live. Number 3, feel extraordinary. Number 4, stop aging. Number 5, get the job of your dreams. Number 6, start the company you always wanted. Number 7, embrace the lover of your fantasies. Number 8, diet down to the body you always envied. Number 9, become a genius. Number 10, surround yourself with geniuses. Number 11, ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire. Number 12, enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
Oh man, that sounds so cool.
Unfortunately, it does not exist right now except as an idea. On this episode, we will look at Vision 12, enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. And I'll start off and do a little reading in the SOS Visions book. Let's take a look here. Starts off with a quote from Time magazine. It is not just new viruses that have doctors worried. Perhaps the most ominous prospect of all is a virulent strain of influenza. Every so often, a highly lethal strain emerges. Unlike HIV, flu moves through the air and is highly contagious. The last killer strain showed up in 1918 and claimed 20 million lives, more than all the combat deaths in World War I. And that was before global air travel. The next outbreak could be even more devastating. And again, that's a quote from Time magazine. And now, once again, this is Mark Hamilton writing here. He says, by now, during my Neothink visions, the images centered more and more around our health. More than anything else in the 21st century, people cried out for the geniuses with their groundbreaking technologies to eradicate virulent diseases. Devastating new diseases were on the rise, and perhaps even worse, drug-resistant strains of several old killer diseases were back. Those frightening new diseases and new strains tended to break down our acceptance of the FDA that suppressed the rise of Neothink geniuses in the medical industry and held back excuse me, the rapid advancement of the medical industry. Our physical survival more and more depended on rapid advancement. My 12th vision showed me that during the early 21st century, doctors were less and less able to handle certain infectious diseases that were gaining resistance to antibiotics. A powerful warning came when only a single remaining antibiotic could stop a powerful strain of staph infection that commonly spread throughout hospitals. Once that lone remaining antibiotic ceased to work, hospitals would become risky places to visit. Then the common strep infection gained resistance to antibiotics. In my 12th vision warned me of the increasing danger as we advanced into the new millennium. A killer disease, tuberculosis, returned, this time attacking our children, and this time even a combination of antibiotics could not stop it. In short, infectious diseases caught up with and began to surpass modern medicine in the 21st century. The FDA worked against a major medical revolution that was just waiting to explode with greater force than the computer revolution. In fact, the inherent force of a medical biotech explosion was so great that even with the FDA, genetic engineering such as the Human Genome Project and other biomedical projects were advancing at an all-time pace. But the mighty biomedical explosion could not ignite with the FDA smothering progress. As with computers, the technology needed quick access to the marketplace, which the FDA blocked. Indeed, the marketplace is the oxygen needed to ignite the biomedical explosion, which the FDA smothered. I said differently before, but I think we're going to stop there, and we're going to discuss this topic based on our recollection of the remaining information. For me, the most important aspect of this is that we are seeing some of this today in actuality. We are seeing some diseases become resistant to antibiotics. And we are seeing viral diseases that are resistant to the treatments that are provided for them. In fact, I recently had a upper respiratory infection that was pretty devastating, and that's why this episode was delayed for several weeks until I recovered from that. In addition to that, we're seeing, unfortunately, an attitude against those parts of the medical industry that are working, such as vaccines, and this is creating conditions that make people vulnerable to diseases that have long been conquered by the vaccines, including measles and other childhood diseases, which are much more devastating if you get them as an adult. Anyone else want to jump in here and talk a little bit about this?
That's a really interesting point about the vaccinations and the war there has been out there. And I'm a natural, I look into natural healing a lot, and I've been raised that way to try to, incorporate that into my life, and how much that works over of a technology created by man. But I really, like you said, Bill, objectively, we've saved so many thousands of lives from the technology of a vaccine. Just to be clear, when I looked into it more, I never understood that. So my thinking on it is that the vaccines have so many other fillers in there that are just not only the vaccines that were created in the 1900s. They have things like formaldehyde in them and different ingredients, mercury, that are also toxic to the body. But besides that, it's just you're seeing that mentality. And with you saying the FDA, or reading from Mark Hamilton, the FDA suppressing that advancement is something that the marketplace, all of great values, the Apple wave, people love Apple products. If the FDA or the government, some avenue of the government could stop Apple products because they thought it was not great, that would be such a, there would be such a limitation for the advancement of Apple products, the iPad, the iPod. And it's the same thing. I look at it with the medical industry, and why not have those great breakthroughs available where people could, test the marketplace, see what people want, and it's such a powerful concept, but also such an exciting concept because people would suddenly have values you can't really imagine right now in all these little nooks and crannies of the medical world if we could do that. So it's very exciting once you realize that, and we're here making it happen, this show and other ways making it happen, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's just amazing to me that passage that you read was back in the 80s, and we still have all these superbugs that are resistant to any of the vaccines. So I guess they got to work, the FDA, they have to start working a little quicker to start, researching and getting involved in more areas to help us, combat these strains, these influenza strains. We still have flu now after 35 years, and they haven't figured that out. So it just boggles my mind that it seems to me very little has been done in that area.
One of the things I think that also gives a resistance to the advancement of the medical field is the fact that with these vaccines, the government is constantly shoving them down our throats. They're getting to the point where they want to take and demand that you have to take them, whether you want to take them or not. And this is where I think they're hitting a lot of resistance, and maybe the medical field would advance quicker if they didn't have that.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, it would be better if people understood why vaccines were important. I've been back and forth on vaccines, but it's been proven that the basic idea of vaccines is there are people who can't take vaccines because of medical problems, and if you have other people who aren't taking vaccines and they get the disease, then it's more likely, and they've shown that it's called herd immunity, where so few people are actually hosting the disease that it's unlikely that those people who are particularly susceptible will be exposed to it. And it's been proven. Recently there was the outbreak of measles at Disney World because people, a lot of people in the area had decided not to take the vaccine. And therefore you had an outbreak of measles where, in years past that didn't happen. Now I'm not, for me, I agree with the basic idea of the FDA, which is the idea to show that something is safe and effective for what it's designed to do. But there are other ways to do it that don't require the use of force, and that's the main thing we're talking about here is the use of force. So because the FDA has this power, this ability to force people to do things a certain way and this ability to prevent things, they can use it arbitrarily, and they can suppress things that are safe and effective, and then they can let things out that aren't, especially if people are being deceitful, which that happens too. But the whole point is, I would rather live in a world where drug companies would voluntarily, prove the effectiveness of the products they're providing, through third-party sources, neutral third-party sources, rather than a politicized government agency that can use force to suppress somebody just because they don't like, just because the people there don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
But the problem here is has many aspects, and one aspect is, unfortunately, most people have grown up and gone through public schools and have been taught that the government is good and there to protect you and help you and all this. And what you're taught as a child, you believe as an adult. You don't question it unless somebody is able to point out to you the inconsistencies in what you were taught. And that's part of what what we try to do in the Neothink Society. We call those things, things we believe that aren't true, that aren't real. We call that mysticism. And that's part of the problem, is people believe that the government is good, even in spite of all the evidence that we see daily of people who misuse government power, corrupt people who use it for their own ends rather than, to help and protect people, which, is supposedly the idea behind it. The reason people decided to give this power to a few people, is, so they could help us and protect us, and then they misuse that power to, for their own ends, and they don't help us or protect us.
Right.
That's the problem. And that shows up in the medical industry in that, everything ends up being so expensive that you need insurance to afford it. And then the insurance companies make money, and
Right.
and then you can't even choose what insurance you get. The government tells you what insurance you have to have, and then you end up having to pay for a lot of things that you would never use as
And-
part of the insurance.
And then because of the expenses, then the insurance companies force you or pressure you to go to generics. And how do you know the generics are as good as the original intended medication?
Take their word for it.
And then the clinical trials also for the drug companies is so high to get the drugs actually through the FDA approval. And
Takes about 8 years.
it
8
takes
years
time, so
sometimes.
it kind of sets the stage for not the true marketplace, but this authority level that can be misguided or be using it for their own ends rather than the good of the people they're supposed to be in place for. And again, it's force that allows them to keep that because they're doing that with forced tax dollars and forced tax revenues. And it creates this kind of condition, the system that we're all in. And what we're talking about is the removal of that so that all these things can hit the marketplace directly instead. And if anybody's seen Amazon or purchased things on Amazon, like you said, Bill, you agree with the idea of the FDA. When you could see ratings from people, from consumers, that's done a heck of a lot to tell people what, or at least in my view and my closest circle, people buy that stuff all the time on Amazon, and they're judging by the reviews. And you can see thousands of reviews. If you get like 4 out of 5 stars, they have a 5-star rating system. That's giving you so much added information to make a good decision for you without any forced or added. If you're just talking on an efficiency level, you don't have much cost. People are giving their reviews voluntarily, and it's helping so many other people make sounder decisions. So that can be in place without government force, without initiatory force. It could be in the medical industry more, and things can move faster and be cheaper, and that increases everybody's standard of living in the end. So it's really exciting, actually. It might sound a little dry, but it ends up helping all the individuals out.
Yeah, the main thing here is that basically everyone should have that choice of what they want to do, what they want to try. I mean, we've also been taught that doctor's orders, and that we should do exactly what the doctor says, no matter how we feel about it. Whereas I think a doctor should be, for everyone, doctors should be more like a consultant, someone who has knowledge you don't, and they can share that knowledge with you so that you have the information you need to make a decision, not so you can just go to them and do whatever they tell you to do. And that's the way I work with my doctor, is he shares the information with me, and then I make a decision about whether or not I want to follow that, what he's recommending. And that's the way everything should be. And if you want to try a new drug, you should be able to do it. But everyone should go out. Everyone's responsible for their own life, and they should go out and do the research and know what they're taking, and understand it before they do it. But they should be able to take whatever they want if they want to. And it's also with what's going on with marijuana now. I like that several states have given the choice back to people to decide whether or not they want to do that. But if you decide to use marijuana, you're responsible for whatever you do because of that. That's the bottom line. It's always, if you want choice, you also have responsibility.
Yeah,
that's so beautiful.
Yeah. And sometimes in dealing with the doctors, it's unfortunate. You get some doctors that are just out there and all they're doing is pushing pharmaceutical drugs for the pharmaceutical industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yet there are other doctors out there that are really trying to help you and help you get better and improve your health. But unfortunately, the people that are going to them, they're just in the habit, or they got a problem, they go see the doctor, they listen to what the doctor says, and then they don't follow a thing he tells them.
Yeah. Well, the whole problem
That's the sad part too,
we're not taught how to think. That's
Right.
it. We're taught how to follow
Mhm.
from the time we're very little. And when you step out of your comfort zone and start taking things upon yourself and realizing you have choices, it's hard in the beginning. It's hard to do. And people don't want to do that. People are like robots in this world. They follow. So that enters into this conversation too. The idea that we got to get people the ability to think on their own.
Yeah, and it's so much more stimulating. I like leading myself after you get it's like riding a bike, but you can go anywhere afterward, because you can look at reality yourself, integrate with what's all the available information out there, and then make a choice. And it's free. Besides that, okay, that's it. Go play, pretty much, because
and that thinking on your own is also an individual decision.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people just figure they don't want to be bothered. I'm just going to follow what whoever tells me, and I'm going to do that.
Yep. Yeah.
And then you complain about the results they get after it's done.
Yep. Good point.
Sad.
Yes, it is. So back to the subject we started with. I mean, the medical industry is where it is because choice has been taken away from people. That's the bottom line. Mm-hmm. And in place of it, we have force. We're told what medication we can take. We're told, what treatments we can have, or because because of all this regulation, and because doctors are so hounded by lawsuits and everything, that makes everything so expensive. I mean, 50 years ago, 60 years ago, you didn't need insurance just to go to the doctor because you had a cold,
Right.
And now you do, because everything is so expensive. Just visiting the doctor is so expensive that you can't afford it without insurance.
Yeah, and they used to come to your house, I heard,
Mm-hmm.
and so you didn't have that travel cost either.
I'm giving my age away now, but I can remember the doctor coming to my house.
That's so cool.
Yeah. And another thing that makes things difficult too is you get things that are developed outside the United States, and because of our country's procedures and what they have to go through to test different things, they won't allow these things to come in. And sometimes there are items that could cure a certain disease and have it gone overnight, but because it's only been on the market 6 months or a year, the government will not allow anybody to use it.
And those companies don't want to go through the expense to get through get over all the hurdles they need to in order to market those things.
Why should they do it if they can market it to the rest of the world? Why do they have to worry about the United States? Let the United States worry about themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just want to throw out, and Bill, then I guess you can continue. I recommend people watching this to watch the movie Dallas Buyers Club. The guy had AIDS and he couldn't get any of the medication in the United States. FDA didn't permit it, so he went to Mexico. He got all the drugs, and he had to bring it in illegally. So it discusses this point beautifully. So I recommend that movie.
Absolutely, I second that.
So if we have basically what we're talking about here is a free market, which we've never seen, because from the time all of us were born, even Bob.
Mm-hmm.
There's not been a free market. it's always been the government's been involved in some way, prohibiting this, forcing this, so you don't really see a free market. All you see is what the government allows us to see. All you can buy is what the government allows us to buy, and you don't have complete choice. Now, sure, there's stuff that's dangerous out there, but you don't just go and get stuff willy-nilly and just grab something because some celebrity or somebody says, "Oh, this is great stuff." No, if you really want to have choice, you have to have the responsibility to get out there and learn and understand it before you just grab something. And the other side of this, just really briefly, is everyone's an individual. There's no cure-all for everybody because everybody's an individual and they react differently to medications.
And the stars that you see on TV, if you do want to go ahead and do what they do and see the results, go for it.
Right.
And it comes down to the responsibility of seeing the aftermath, but you'll learn from that, and I think it's the fear in place of the things that might happen is always used as the reason why they should be there without your consent, and that's where it causes a lot of unhappiness from them.
I mean, it's actually insulting.
Yeah.
Because the basic idea is we can't take care of ourselves.
Yeah. Exactly.
Somebody else has to take care of us because we can't take care of ourselves.
You're perpetual children, in the eyes of that philosophy. So, and the founders of this country, America, I think they had great minds to be individuals. They didn't want people telling them how to think or what to do, and they're the ones who formed the Constitution and wanted to protect their personal choices, from being upheld without anybody's idea of their religion. Somebody thought their religion was crazy or what they were saying was crazy. But they knew that, identified with that so thoroughly, they tried to make something to protect that from happening, and that's eroded over time.
Okay, thank you, everyone. That was a very good discussion on that topic, and now we'll move on to where's the force?
Awesome.
Uh-oh. At Burger King. No, just kidding.
No, it's in a galaxy far, far away. But anyway, I mentioned it during the show, and I don't think we've covered this one before, but even if we did, this time our perspectives will have changed at least slightly. And the question today is public schools, where's the force? Sage?
Wow, okay, yeah, public schools. The force is... I believe we've covered this, and it's so still true. The taxes of I look at it as people are forced to pay taxes, and then the tax money that's forced gets decided on going to how much goes to public education and what gets taught in that system. Without the money kept in people's hands, where they could more apply those to the free marketplace and businesses providing education to provide superior education, I think. I think I've always heard it, people are forced to send their kids to school. And I don't know how true that is. I don't have kids yet. And I think I was questioning when I was young how to get out of school. And that's where it came up first. Mm-hmm. And you're forced to go to school. But that just the funnel of the force of tax that people have to pay the tax, and then forcing people to go to the schools that tax money provides, is just setting up a very dishonest situation where people have to get the education that is being produced rather than wanting it, and it creates, I think, a lower level of standards in the education world.
Thank you, Sage.
Sure.
Bob, where's the force?
The force is that they do the children. It's required that all children have to attend school or be taught in some way. Now, more recently, there's more you hear people self-teaching. But then again, the individual, the parent, or whoever's doing the self-teaching has to be qualified to be able to teach and have the information available, and has to follow some kind of criteria that they would receive from the Board of Education. So the force is there. And unfortunately, and maybe I'm wrong, but to my understanding, even though people are self-teaching their children, they're still required to pay the same taxes that everybody else pays. So they're paying for the schools, support of the schools
Right.
also, and yet they're not utilizing the schools at all.
Thank you, Bob. Harry, where's the force?
Well, I ditto everything everybody else says, but just think about it. If you can't afford to go to school, then you can't go to private school, so you don't have much of a choice there. So you're pretty much forced to go to public school. But the taxes that are paid go back to the government to improve roads and schools and sewer systems, the special assessment taxes that you got to pay that you don't even know about. But I'm more concerned about the psychological effect of public school. The kids are not being taught how to think. I mean, okay, it's great that they're being taught math, history, and all that, and sciences, but nobody's really teaching these children how to make money or how to think, and the teachers are sort of have a script. They're like robots, and this is the way our school system has been for a long time. You fit into society rather than becoming an individual and making a lot of money on your own. So it's a lot there.
Well
And the
said.
children are also fed that information from the teachers, and they're expected to feed that information right back to the teacher exactly the way that she puts it out.
Exactly.
They're not encouraged to think on their own and come back with ideas of their own of maybe ways that you can do things differently. That's just not encouraged in the schools today.
They're afraid.
Thank you.
They're afraid, basically.
Yeah, I listened to a gentleman named Stefan Molyneux who does a podcast called Free Domain Radio, and he describes public schools. He's in Canada, but it's similar to what we do in the United States. He describes public schools as basically they kidnap your kids for 6 to 8 hours a day, and they indoctrinate them.
Mm-hmm.
And yes.
Yeah.
Because and he talks a lot about how where the public school philosophy came from in the late 1800s. It came from Prussia, from what's now Germany, and the idea was basically to train people to work in factories. So when you work in factory, you do what you're told. You don't ask questions, and you work hard. And unfortunately, nowadays in the United States, there aren't that many factories. So people are being trained to work in the factories, and then they get out in the world and they don't know what to do. Plus, they aren't taught to think, so they can't reason for themselves and figure things out. And they're also taught to be followers. They're taught that to follow authorities, the government, if you go to religious school, the clergy, the God, all those things. If you could, and also through the media, we're taught to follow celebrities and listen to them and do what they say, and that's ridiculous. What qualifies them to tell us what to do?
Right.
No idea.
Children
Other than them being famous,
Children today just aren't taught to inquire and look into things themselves to learn. I've got 3 young children at my house now. They've been here for the last year and a half. And I'm seeing when they come home from school and what they do in the way of studying, which is very little. And then when they do have something, and they'll be coming to me, and what's the meaning of this? What's the meaning of this word? What's the definition of this word? And I encourage them. I tell them, look, the dictionary's over there. There's the dictionary. If you need help with it, I'll help you. But get the dictionary and look it up yourself and learn that way. And I encourage them, if you see something in the dictionary you don't understand, look that word up. And they're very, very resistant to being able to do that. They just don't want to put the effort in. And that's sad.
Wow, it's I get so much education from businesses, really, from businesses who provide the books that I bought throughout my existence, and then my voluntary participation in these shows and the relationships I've met. Uh, I've learned so much outside of school and learning. I remember a book saying education is the definition of education is to draw from within. Uh, and the Greek root of the word educe or something similar to that means to draw from within, and I just feel that that's taken out almost purposely, like everything you guys have said. It's taught you to be where it actually originated from. That's so interesting how it comes from uh, people conditioning people to work in factories. And I've learned as a business owner, I come from that perspective. I can see night and day from my training when I was in school to now the training I've gotten from mentorship and from real experience myself of seeing, oh man, I could have saved so much time if I just started a business earlier. And I had, with the knowledge I've acquired and put together and experienced now, I could do it myself earlier on. So it's very wealth producing and happiness creating. And I wish I was, gotten that earlier on. And that's where we talk about the force. That's not in their system or in the current school system. It's minus that. So you got to learn that here and on your own.
What I noticed too also is this invention here, the iPhone, the phone, portable phone. Each one of the kids have one, and all of my grandkids have one. And what you see them, they're on there constantly with their fingers going like crazy. They're playing games, and I've tried to encourage them. Look, you want to look up the name of a word, or you want to look up something you want to learn? Go to Google, type the word in, and find out what it's all about. I said that you can use that tool to learn so much, but yet all you're using it to play is to sit there and kill time playing games. And I said, you're not learning anything from it. It's not benefiting you in any way. And your mother spent a lot of money on those iPads. I mean, they go for $150 or more a piece, right? And when I've got between my nephews and that, there's about 9 children here that they all have them. That's a lot of money invested. And they're not utilizing them to their best advantage.
And if you didn't have force, and like you, Harry, said, you could teach them to think early on, they could be using that tool for something,
Yes.
But they're not. So there's that psychological effect too. That's they're using this powerful technology and they're not using it. When they could really be doing something amazing, creating something
through
amazing.
That tool, the whole world is open to them.
It's open.
Anything
It's
they
on your
want to investigate is there.
Yeah, but they want it, and I know stimulation is they're being out stimulated. Unfortunately, I don't get it because I can't. I get bored of those games really fast. But if they saw something, if they could make the connection, Bob, like we're doing, seeing you exhilarated and you creating your stuff without initiatory force in your psyche, they're going to get turned on.
I hope so.
Okay. Yep. Thank you very much. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next section. Basically, this section is called "Creating the 12 Visions World," and we're going to and in this section we've been looking at the national platform, and we're going to continue doing that with the section called Split Run. Harry, you wanna start reading on page 20 and go to the beginning of page 21. Stop at where it says immigration.
Yeah, sure. This is, of course, Mark Hamilton wrote this, and this is a world in the 12 Visions world, what the world should be, what it is, but it's not today. Okay, what is a split run? The largest marketing industry, direct mail, sends advertisements to you through the mail. The reason direct mail dwarfs all other forms of advertising, including television, radio, magazines, and internet, is because of its effectiveness. And the reason direct mail is so effective is because of something called the split run. Here is how it works. In the advertisement mailing called a run, every 2 names get split. The first name and the address. Split A gets mailed the established advertisement. That's the control. The second name and address, split B, gets mailed the test advertisement. That's the challenger. This is known as an A-B split run. The response, which is the orders, quickly and undeniably tell us which approach is more effective. There's no guesswork. The numbers tell us what works and what doesn't work. We need no brilliant professors or expert analysis telling us what we should do. The numbers tell us everything we need to know. Veterans in the direct mail industry shake their heads when they hear something marketing experts saying, I think this or I think that. For living by the underlying and unthinking numbers, direct mailers know that answers are correct. During the fourth quarter of 2008, worldwide financial implosion, I heard over and over again economic experts on television and on the radio saying, I think. I noticed that they were wrong as much as they were right. In other words, their many opinions meant nothing above the odds. One day when I had heard one too many I think, I blurted, God, I just want to split run this country. Bingo! The light turned on in my head. Over the next few weeks I wrote Split Run. As you will see, one split takes us down the sad road to poverty, while the other split opens our flight into prosperity. Okay, and he goes on to say, imagine no taxes. In Split Run, we hypothetically A-B split America. Split A is the control, the half of the country with the same political and economic policies that exists now, backed by initiatory force and rule of man. Split B is the test, the half of the country with the different political and economic policies, void of initiatory force and rule of man, starting with no taxes. Remember, income tax in America is backed by force, initiatory force. Mark Hamilton says, I will explain later how the government will generate its money without coercion, but one step at a time. No taxes. What happens? Well, I know I personally moved to Split B. To make Split B sound a little less awkward, let's call Split B Hamilton, America. In fact, with no taxes, most people owning a business move to Split B, move to Hamilton, America. Of course, businesses are where the jobs are. So more and more people who are badly wounded by the collapsing job world in Split A in America move to Hamilton's America to find good jobs. Hamilton's America booms. Factories and office buildings fill up and more get built and accommodates the new businesses rushing in. Homes get bought and more get built to the house, the job-searching people rushing in. In short, the smartest job creators, both burgeoning entrepreneurs and established business owners, and the hardest working people ambitious for work flock to Hamilton, America. The economy and the standards of living soar in Hamilton, America. Meanwhile, the lazy moochers, excuse me, I had a technical problem. I'm sorry. My headphones fell off. Okay,
great.
So what I was saying, meanwhile, the lazy moochers stay home in America. The economy and standards of living sink in America. Moreover, with no taxes, the smartest job creators and the hardest working people rush into Hamilton, America, not only from America, from around the world. They leave behind their sinking economies and tax-crazed countries. Indeed, the smartest creators and the hardest working people in the whole wide world end up in Hamilton, America. Hamilton, America becomes the booming melting pot American once was. Hamilton, America is the beneficiary of a worldwide brain drain. Schools, infrastructure, construction, real estate, publishing, clothing, farming, energy, all industries produce and boom. Very quickly, Hamilton, America becomes the envy of the world. Hamilton, America experiences unprecedented prosperity as America experiences unprecedented poverty. Sister America sadly suffers another Great Depression. Wow, that is an amazing world, what I just read.
Yeah.
Thank you, Harry. I just wanted to say, first of all, a lot of people have gotten hung up on the term Hamilton America because it's ego. He's setting himself up, but he could just have easily have called it tax-free America or force-free America or anything. It's just a word. It's not don't get hung up on that. Look at the rest of the context. That's the first thing. Second thing is, I mean, I would basically do anything to move to a place where there were no taxes, where there was no income tax, no property tax, no gas tax, no uh, uh, inheritance tax, no, everywhere you look, there's taxes everywhere. And if there aren't taxes, there's fees, which are really taxes. They just gave it a different name. You know, everywhere you look. I mean, basically, you're paying taxes so the government can provide services, and then they charge you fees on top of it because they've squandered all their money paying their employees extravagant retirements and everything.
And the welfare class of people, that didn't supposedly couldn't work and produce values. So
Yes.
and it as a business owner, I see that. And, it's so exciting to think about how I just had to pay 2014 taxes and pay a huge amount, and I don't see how continuing on where that money really is making things better on a very realistic level. It's totally out of my hands, and it's not in your hands, Bill, or your hands, Harry, or your hands, Bob. People that I trust. If I gave you this money, I'd rather be like, okay, at least I know you guys and trust what you guys would do with it. If anything, I know you do it. I'm much more confident in you doing good things with it to help society, as they say that the tax goes to. But I have no control over it. I don't know where it ends up, but all of us do that, and it's amazing with all of us doing that. Shouldn't things be rapidly advancing, but they don't realistically. So.
Yeah, it seems like every time money changes hands, there's a representative of the government standing there with his hand out to take the government's cut.
Yeah, and if that produced results, fantastic. But we've seen year after year after year after year, it doesn't, and the debt is climbing amazingly. I've been paying more, and the debt's climbing. That's not how it should work. It should go the opposite way. So it's amazing. But,
I experienced an example of the waste in the government just this last week, where my stepson and I were looking to register a vehicle, and we had a bill of sale. It was a vehicle that was manufactured. Actually, we had to assemble it, and my stepson bought it from someone else. Right? So we went to register, and they said, no, you can't register it, even though you've got the bill of sale signed it with, the receipt that was purchased with was signed by the person that purchased it and signed it over to you. So that they said, no, you have to have a certified, I'm looking for the name, a notary public, sign it for you and witness his signature. So, okay. The guy was in Florida, and he just come back on Monday from Florida. We took him down to motor vehicle. We figured, okay, if he goes to motor vehicle with us, he can sign it right there in front of the motor vehicle agent. It's the same as a notary. They've got somebody in their system witnessing the fact that he sold the unit. They would not allow us to do that. We had to take and go back out, find a notary public, have him sign it in front of a notary public in order to get the paperwork back to motor vehicle in order for them to sign it.
Yeah, that's an inefficient stupidity.
Very inefficient.
Yep. Okay, Sage, do you have the platform in front of you?
I do, yeah.
Okay, you want to pick up and read the next two sections?
Absolutely. And just that was just so awesome, Harry. Great job.
A lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yeah, great reading. It starts with immigration, right? Let the creators come.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Hamilton, America not only has no taxes, it also has no welfare, no handouts. So as in the early days of America, only the best of the foreigners, the smartest job creators and hardest workers come to Hamilton, America. We get the best in the world, the best value creators, best job creators, and hardest working people from all around the world. The lazy moochers never come, for there is no welfare for them. They have to work for their existence in Hamilton, America, so the inherently lazy foreigners stay in their existing countries and continue receiving from the large social good programs. Early America was known as the land of opportunity. People from all around the world came to America to build or contribute. None of those early immigrants came here with the idea of taking from our government. They came here with a dream and a passion to fulfill that dream. Those early immigrants contributed enormously to America's rising prosperity. Some of those immigrants built the original industrial empires in America. Hamilton America is the revival of that time of passion and production. Meanwhile, America continues her stiff resistance to simple, hard-working immigrants. At the same time, America grows her welfare programs that ultimately motivate immigrants towards entitlements and laziness. America gets pulled under the weight of her growing welfare state as she begins to drown in debt. Small government, rich Main Street. Hamilton America, on the other hand, booms. Growing, building, producing as the smartest graders and hardest workers rush here from America and from all around the world. In this booming economy, standards of living keep rising. Why? It all started with no taxes. Now the smartest creators come to Hamilton America to build their businesses here. The hardest workers follow to work for those businesses. Well, no taxes and booming economy give us the data, the underlying numbers we need to determine the role of government in Hamilton America. Essentially, in Hamilton America, the government will get out of the way. That was the case in early America when our country was the envy of the world. Now, American industry is mired in regulations, legislation, taxes. America, split A, is stuck and sinking in ineffectiveness. America is falling. Hamilton America, on the other hand, is free of government drag. The role of government returns to protection only, which includes national defense, justice, courts, police, and prisons. In 1787, the U.S. Constitution supplanted suppressive rule of man with nearly flawless rule of law. A single missing integration allowed power-seeking man to steadily misinterpret the Constitution and gradually weaken its power to limit government. Like a resurging disease thought to have been eradicated, the rule of man has adapted and gained strength against rule of law, against the U.S. Constitution. The missing integration that would have permanently protected the U.S. Constitution from the resurgence of rule of man is the prime law. In Hamilton America, the ratification of the prime law is an amendment to the nearly flawless original U.S. Constitution makes the difference between America's less and less effective Constitution and Hamilton America's incorruptible Constitution. The prime law, as defined later, guarantees a get-out-of-the-way government. The prime law is the difference between sinking into poverty, which again is split A America, versus soaring into prosperity, split B Hamilton America.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Phew.
Powerful.
Yep, this is basically what we're talking about. This is the new world. This is the new world that we're looking to create. A world where everyone has the same opportunity. Opportunity doesn't mean boom, automatically you're successful, but there's nothing getting in your way. Here in the United States and in most other countries around the world, every time you do something, you have to fill out a form, you have to pay a fee, you have to, or you have to get something notarized, or whatever you're trying to do, you have to, you have to do something that's expensive, difficult, and hard. And no wonder people just go get a job and work 9 to 5 until they're too old to work.
Mm-hmm. Right. And this is it can be this way, guys. It can be a way without all those forms and without all that regulation and litigation. That's prime law so clearly prevents all that. So yeah, it's just so exciting to think here on the show. We could be doing so many other things, and we're here on this show because I'm stimulated about this idea that I think the founding fathers would have been doing backflips over if they heard of it, So it's very exciting.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Basically, if you like what we're talking about and you think this is a great idea, there are many ways you can get involved. If you live in New Jersey, you can contact one of us. I'm happy if you contacted me to let me know you're interested in this, and we can talk about what you're interested in doing to help create this world. My email address is whunsicker@gmail.com, and I'll say that one more time, whunsicker@gmail.com. If you live elsewhere other than New Jersey, you can contact the National 12 Visions Party, and they can put you in contact. There's a form on their website, which I'll give in a moment, that you can fill out, and they'll put you in contact with the people that are organizing the 12 Visions Party in your state, and then you can contact them, or they can contact you and discuss what you want to do to help create this world. And their website is tvpnc.org. That's tvpnc.org. And there are many ways you can become involved in creating this world. You can just share your ideas. You can volunteer to help with whatever your 12 Visions Party movement is planning to do in your state. You can give money if you have money that you're willing to give. And you can become involved in planning what we need to do to create this world. So I look forward to everyone, getting involved, and I look forward to us creating this world together. Any other comments, gentlemen?
May I add something here?
Absolutely.
For somebody that might be watching this program as a guest, no matter where you are from in the world, this program is available online, and you're welcome to come and join us anytime we hold a program. It's also available in video after the program is over, so you can review the program.
Yeah, there's 13 episodes there, and all I can say, Bill, to describe the show, 2 words: thought-provoking. Thought-provoking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And,
if anyone wants to, sorry, Sage, if anyone wants to see the previous 12 episodes, they're welcome. I've created a blog that has all the episodes linked, so you can watch them right there, and that is creating a new world creatinganewworld.blogspot.com, creatinganewworld.blogspot.com, and you can watch all the previous episodes, and including this episode once it becomes available. Go ahead, Sage.
That's what I was getting to.
Yes.
That's perfect.
Yep. Integrating minds think alike.
Well said.
Yep. So I want to thank everyone for coming on the show. It was a great show today. Lots of thought-provoking discussion, and that's what this show is all about. And I want to thank Sage Katakura.
Bill, thank you for putting on the show and spearheading it. It's such a value, and I'm excited. My Saturday just it's started now.
Starts it off with a jump.
Yeah.
And I'd like to thank Bob McCaffrey.
Thank you, Bill. I'm happy to be here. I look forward to coming here each week.
And last but definitely not least, I'd like to thank Carrie Dolgen.
Wonderful show. I enjoyed being part of it along with Bob and Sage. And please, everybody, send us your thoughts about the show. Watch it. You'll get something out of it.
And until our next show, I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and prosperity. Thank you.